fallout, smoke, women crying for their sons because their sons are not, Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up. Free Judea, free our people, autonomy for Israel. You had Herod, an Edomite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah. Then you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that we learn from Josephus are not Jews by birth. No.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. One of the lost tribes of Israel. One of the lost tribes of Israel.
Okay, so now we are on our way from Ohafia to Arochukwu. So we're traveling all around.
And this is also an ancient city, the warriors.
Yeah.
They call it the Ephraim.
Okay.
The Ephraim.
Let me show you around.
Ephraim Queen. Yes, Ephraim Queen. Yeah.
Ephraim Queen. Yeah.
So they believe.
He said this particular place, they say that they're from the tribe of Ephraim.
Yeah, Ephraimites.
The Ephraim.
And ethnicity is a cult?
What's up, Zion Dynasty? This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. J.B. Zion. Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Zion Dynasty, y'all. So, family, I got a lot I want to go through. We're going to jump into it, y'all. A lot of the research that I've been talking about, the sealed portion, we're going to go into that a little bit, the sealed portion of Ephraim. I'm going to deal with America, the American Sephardic Moors, those Israelites that had came around 600, 605 BC, as well as those that came during the banishment of the Israelites out of Spain that came over to the Americas around that time, family. We're going to go into all of it on this video, and I'm going to deal with this Ephrathite Ephraimite thing. I know y'all saw in the title. We're going to go to Psalm 78, the infamous Psalm 78, that he rejected the tabernacle of Joseph, right? A lot of y'all have been flooding the comments with he rejected the tabernacle of Joseph. He rejected the tabernacle of Joseph. Yeah, because it's so much. And let me just drop something real quick. If I say I reject somebody's home, does that mean I reject that person per se? Now this is just a little common sense. We're gonna deal with a little common sense. If David himself is an Ephraimite, through that left or right Elimelech lineage that was raised from the grave by the kinsman redeemer of the tribe of Judah, Boaz. If David himself is an Ephraimite, the Most High couldn't have rejected Ephraim. What is it saying when it says he rejected the tabernacle of Joseph? He did not choose to set up his everlasting kingdom using Shiloh, the tabernacle, that dwelling place, that chief city that was a part of Ephraim's borders. But he did choose Judah's territory, Judah, specifically Bethlehem, that out of Bethlehem would come forth he that is to be governor of my people Israel. We see that in Micah 5:2, through that Ephraimite David's lineage. So he just did not choose to set up the chief, I guess what you would call that, the chief location for the kingdom, which would be Zion, which would be Jerusalem, in the borders of Judah. He chose Judah's borders for the Messiah. So when y'all use that, I'm like, come on, y'all, put your think caps on. He didn't reject Joseph. He rejected to use Shiloh in the borders of Ephraim to set up the location for his everlasting kingdom, right? So that's one thing. We're going to deal with all that in more detail. I'm going to pull that scripture up and go through every verse for you guys. Also, I'm going to piggyback that with Joshua chapter 15, because in Joshua chapter 15, it gives you every city that is given to Judah. I saw Benaiah bring it up, but he didn't want to stay there. And I also saw a comment on that Teo video where a person said, well, JB is saying that Bethlehem was given to Ephraim because Rachel died there. I watched Pastor Kelly pull that up on his laptop, and it said it, and he didn't deal with it. So, family, I've reached out to Pastor Kelly today before I did this lesson. I've called, I've texted. I just want family. If it's not about family, what's the point of the whole thing, Israel? I'm just gonna cut to the chase. A lot of our people, we like the drama, we like the mess. We really don't want to sit down with all the thinkers in our community, from the camps to the so-called moderates, and we sit in a room together and figure it out as a family and show the love that the Most High, that's the whole purpose of Israel, to show that family love, that coming together, that if we have disagreements, we sit down together. We don't bash one another and say, oh, we're going to come with that, that Ephraimite deception. We don't get down like that because we're family. That's the purpose of us knowing what tribes we come from and all this stuff, to unify as a community. Haven't we been hated long enough? Haven't the nations shot our family down on the streets unarmed long enough? For us to then turn on one another, and a lot of these leaders and a lot of us that come into this truth, we forget the purpose of this truth. We take the spiritual baggage from all the oppression and the mental illness that we've experienced in Babylon, and we regurgitate that from a hurt place towards another. And I've reached out and I've done everything I can. I've messaged Teo on that video. I've messaged Benaiah, and I'm just going to stop doing it. A lot of y'all have emailed and said, JB, just let the Most High handle that. The Most High hasn't revealed everything to everybody. I saw a lesson by Big Judah saying that same thing. And a lot of y'all been encouraging me and saying, we're waking up. We're receiving this mystery that you've been sharing with us, JB. And I've seen a lot of people say, nobody else has said this but JB. And I give all praises to the Most High about revealing that Ephraimite mystery of David's lineage. He gets all the credit. And I thank y'all for supporting me, saying we're with you, JB. We're riding with you and keep teaching. And that's what we're going to do, family. We're going to do a little DNA on this, just a little bit. And I'm going to talk about, Fox News talked about that DNA, that y'all, you have to use wisdom with this stuff. A lot of y'all have been telling me, well, they're trying to steal our information. They're going to try to do this stuff, family, but the Most High is in control. But just use wisdom. That's why I recommend African Ancestry. And I've been trying to reach out with them to have a link where y'all can, if y'all want to do your DNA, they're black owned and they don't share your results with outside parties. Because Fox has been talking about a lot of these other companies doing some shicey stuff. They want to get our DNA, family. Esau, the nations are, it's so many lessons. I'm gonna deal with this stuff. But first, family, I got a little DNA. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna go through Psalm 78. I'm gonna go through this Ephrathite. I'm gonna talk about the significance of Joseph. And I'm going to go into the sealed portion of Ephraim. It's a lot on this lesson, family, where I'm going to show you a lot, really. It's so much in that book, man. And first, just to qualify that, when a lot of our family have been finding out about Joseph, finding out that we're linked to Northern Kingdom, finding out about the Yoruba and the Nigerians that are Northern Kingdom that claim to be Ephraim, it opens up a Pandora's box of where did these people go? Where did these Moors go? We know they migrated to Nigeria, but we also know that some of them migrated to the Americas. You can Google, and I might pull it up, that the first Sephardic Israelite location, I say Sephardic Israelite instead of Sephardic Jew, in the Americas was in Brazil. So this stuff, Ephraim went everywhere, a coat of many colors, right? A cake unturned. Some of y'all said that means he just became black. If I'm making a pancake, if I don't flip that mug, it's going to be light on the top side, or it might look like the batter, and on the bottom, it could be burnt, right? That is the metaphor. That is the prophecy of Joseph being a coat of many colors. It's 10 tribes we're talking about, family. If you're talking about Judah is millions of people, and the other 10 tribes wouldn't be a lot of different people groups, this is where a lot of our Africa-only brothers are not thinking. I'm not taking anything away from Africa. Africa was the birthplace of the 12 tribes, and that was the chief center under the kingdom of Morocco, where a lot of Ephrati, Northern Kingdom Israelite were. But you got to understand, they were under attack. In 1492, when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella started banishing all these Israelites, they went looking for them. King Manuel of Portugal sent Lancados and other spies on the west coast of Africa to find these people. And you had a lot of wealthy Ephraimites, a lot of wealthy Israelites that were sea bearers or blackjacks that had boats that went over to the Americas. This is the history of a lot of these so-called native tribes when you look at the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, and that kind of thing. So first, family, I'm just going to start off with the oral tradition. You already know. Yoruba, Bani Ephraim, the Yoruba or the Yoruba of Nigeria, that their oral tradition is that they are the Beni Ephraim and that they came from Morocco after the Jews were banished from the Iberian Peninsula sometime after 1492. So this is just beautiful. I love that oral tradition. Y'all have heard it on about every video, right? And I continue to give honor to the elders and honor their oral tradition to show you Bible prophecy fulfilling itself. That when the Most High said that his people would go into slavery on ships, this is revelation. But when you look into the history and the oral tradition, sure enough, the tribes that so-called African Americans come from are actually the lost tribes of Israel. And that's just dealing with the African component. I'm going to deal also in the sealed portion and deal with the native tribes that are connected, blood connected to Joseph, and they already knew about each other thousands of years ago, right? So I got a couple of books for you guys. If y'all want to get these books, I recommend them. Jewish Folk Tales from Morocco. This is by Mark Eliani. All right. Now this is an old book, family. I was able to get a copy off of Amazon. It talks about Morocco and the Ephraimites that were in Morocco, family. Now I'm gonna try to put it on the screen. I know I got a lot open right now, but I'm gonna try to show this page for you guys. Let me pull this up. Now I want to show y'all me opening the book and going to the page so that you can know that this is scholarship. I'm just giving y'all these resources, and I'm not making something up or just not going to an actual page. I want you guys to see this for yourselves. Let's see if I can pull that up. Make sure I got it up there. It's kind of difficult arranging it. All right, now I'm gonna try to read that for y'all. It says, Grandpa, this is an Ephraimite over there in Morocco recounting this. Grandpa and many other Moroccan Jews also related in Siha, and the first Jews often referred to themselves as children of Ephraim. They believed that a Jewish Ephraimite kingdom existed in North Africa since Joseph's rule in Egypt, long before the arrival of the Karaites. Now the Karaites, that's a whole nother concept, y'all. They are Jews that strictly are that they believe in the oral tradition. The Karaites believe strictly, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, they believe in the oral tradition and the Torah. And the Karaites only believe in Torah. And then there was another sect of Jews that believed in the oral tradition and Torah. Now this is about culture, about should we honor the ancestor or just look at the Torah as written. But y'all gotta understand, they did not have written Torah during the time of Moses. Moses recited the culture for Israel, and they had to teach it to their kids. They weren't writing this stuff down. Moses had it on the tablets of stone, but every day they would rehearse Torah. That's why a lot of even Jewish people can recite Torah. They can recite the Old Testament, the Pentateuch, and that kind of thing. But that's a whole nother thing I can do a lesson on. I just wanted to show y'all that they believe that Ephraim has been in North Africa since Joseph was in Egypt. Do y'all know how terrifying that is? When I found that out, family, and y'all get that book before Amazon hides it. Also, Identity Regained by Sooty Face. I tried to search for this book everywhere, y'all. This book is gone. If it's not on Abe's bookstore, Esau has got rid of that thing. I couldn't even find it on Abe's bookstore. But it's not on Amazon. If it's not on Abe's bookstore, it's not going to be on Amazon or eBay or Barnes & Noble and that kind of thing. But in that book, and I have a PDF, I might pull that brother's video up and show that to y'all in this lesson. He was talking about how so-called blacks and Native Americans are descendants from Joseph, where the Manasseh and Nephi's family, I'm going to talk about the sealed portion of Ephraim, or from the Ephraimites that came over as the banished Jews, whether sea bearers or those in chains, those Moors that were in chains, right? So it's so much history, family, that links our people to the lost, so-called lost tribes of Israel. Whenever you hear lost tribes, this is talking about Ephraim, right? And there were a lot of them in Africa going all the way back to Joseph's time. So this is why in the Americas, when you look at certain native populations, the Aztec Indians of Mexico that have the Olmec Negro that got a nose like me statue, a big old head statue, as well as a lot of the Cherokee, Chickasaw, and that kind of thing, and those Latin groups in Brazil, a lot of them have been over there for thousands of years, family. And I ain't talking about 1 or 2,000. I'm talking about 4,000 and 5,000, going way back to the time of Joseph. Because Joseph was the chief or the vice president of Egypt during that time period. And that's when he set up multiple different kingdoms on the behalf of Egypt. Some in Canaan. This is why you had Ephraimites that had already gone over there in Canaan during that time period. Some in Morocco. And some of those ancient Moors over in the Americas when Egypt was that chief superpower. And I got a lot of research, scholarship, Harvard, Cambridge, that I want to go through to share that revelation with you all, family. So I showed you guys the Iberian oral tradition of the Nigerians. This is just not the Yoruba saying that they're children of Ephraim, right? The Igbo also, let me show y'all in the Jewish Encyclopedia, right? And I'm gonna put that compound clip up for you guys. As y'all seen me open this book time and time again, I'm gonna put that compound clip up. But basically, the Igbo claim to be Gad, or his 8th son Eri, Naphtali, Zebulun, Manasseh, and I think Issachar, those 5 northern kingdom tribes. So family, when I say that the majority of Israel is Joseph or Ephraim, that's those 10 tribes, the so-called lost tribes. So duh, y'all think about this. 10 out of 12 tribes is the majority, right? So when I say the majority of us are actually Ephraim, that's 10 tribes, not just the royal house that the Yoruba claim they are. The Igbo also claim another 5. You also have some in South Africa that claim to be Joseph as well. Ghana as well. I'm going to do some teachings on Ghana. Uganda, that they're entertaining. Them Ish people trying to get back in Uganda, family, because the gold that they found. Uganda was the first African country that they wanted to set the Jewish state up in. Y'all research it. They wanted to make the Jewish state Uganda because they knew about those Ugandan Jews. A lot of those Ugandan Jews are true Judah. So true Judah is in Africa, but the majority that were sold is Joseph being sold in the pit. And we've gone through that with 44% of the Yoruba being the slaves taken in the transatlantic, and another 38 to 40% of the Igbo as well. So this is pushing 80% of so-called African Americans descend from these Nigerians, which is why most of y'all do your 23andMe and that kind of thing, and you're gonna find Nigeria. I'm gonna show y'all an example of that with my own personal DNA. A lot of y'all messaged me and said stop kind of showing my DNA like this. I might tone down on it a little bit because I've been seeing some stuff in the news, family. But I'm gonna pull this up for y'all. So on my ancestry composition, if it'll let me pull that up, I hope y'all can see this. Let's see, ancestry composition. It says West African, Nigerian, Igbo people. So my DNA linked with the Igbo from 23andMe. Now, I've done my African ancestry that specifically linked me to the Yoruba on my father's lineage, making me an Ephraimite on my paternal lineage. And I've shown y'all the certificate. I'm gonna put that up on the screen. Now, why is this important? The Yoruba that claim to be Israel and the Igbo that claim to be Israel are 99.7% genetically tied together. Now, am I saying every Yoruba is an Israelite? We know all the Igbo are. But that royal house of the Yoruba is gonna share the same genetics as the Igbo that are Israel. These are the ones that were taken in slave trade. They targeted that family. Now, was it as many from Africa as they tell us? That's a whole nother thing. Because I'm going to show you guys through scholarship that some of those Nigerians had already gone as blackjacks, as sea bearers over to the Americas. If y'all know Gustavus Vasas, let me pull that book up. Gustavus Vasas, where is it? If y'all know about Olaura Equiano, he is an Igbo. This is the first autobiography by a black person in American history. He talks about how the customs of his Igbo family mirror that of the so-called Jews. And I'm going to deal with that envy of Ephraim thing too. That just reminded me. The Most High reminded me I need to pull that scripture up. Now, just to deal with that shortly in case I forget. A lot of us think of something, when we hear it, we jump to a conclusion. This is where you got to think like a scholar, right? We read, the envy of Ephraim shall depart, and Judah shall no longer vex Ephraim. And we think, yeah, Ephraim gonna stop trying to be everything that Judah is and steal Judah history and all this stuff. What you think it is may not be what you think that it is. And what I mean by that is, the envy of Ephraim shall depart. I will show y'all Harry Rosenberg. He's a Jewish rabbi. He sat down with an Igbo chieftain, and they talked about our people being descendants of those Igbos that are Israelites. The problem with those Ashkenazis and Amalek and those Europeans going into Africa and calling our people Jews, there is a sinister plot with that family. Now, I think they're trying to get the resources. They're trying to proselytize our people. Oh, well, what's wrong with that, JB? They're saying we're Israel. They're trying to get us back to the land. Understand, the Igbo and the Yoruba will not be able to go back to Israel by those white folks. Now, we know the Most High gonna do it. But those European Jewry, they're not gonna allow them over there unless they convert to what they deem as Judaism. That's the mystery, family. Now, y'all keep in mind, Ephraim shall not envy Judah. The mystery is, those Europeans are trying to convert our people to what they say is Torah. Even though the Igbo customs, that Levirate custom, which a lot of y'all don't understand in terms of making David an Ephraimite, you don't understand it because it's not practiced in the West. The Levirate is practiced nowhere on earth except for in Africa. Why is this important? Because if those Europeans proselytize our people and convert them to what they're doing, we're going to lose our true history of Torah. That's the envy of Ephraim shall depart. When our people, Northern Kingdom Israelites, stop trying to be what is deemed Judaistic or Jew by the Edomites, because the Most High knew Edom would hijack through Judah and try to steal our history. So the envy of our people saying, no, we don't want to call ourselves no Jew. We don't have to be like y'all. Africa already keeps the Levirate. Africa already keeps the customs of Torah. We don't need you to tell us that we're Israel. We're Israel all by ourselves. Y'all hear me? And it's deeper than that. Because in Revelation it says those that call themselves Jews and are not, that's not just talking about the Ish people. That's talking about Negroes. If you call yourself Jew and you're not, you're falling under a certain judgment. But guess what? Most of us are not Judah anyway. Because if 10 tribes belong to Joseph, most of Israel is under Ephraim anyway. And if you do your history, like this oral tradition of the Yoruba, y'all like get excited, you'll see we don't even have to call ourselves Jew. All we got to do is call ourselves Israel or Ephraim, because we're more in linked with the Northern Kingdom and Ephraim genetically and according to the oral tradition of our ancestors. And Ola Ura Equiano, the first autobiography by a black person in history, said that his people, the Igbo, keep ancient Israelite customs. Circumcision. Circumcision is the highest rate in Nigeria. Google it. Not just circumcision, but the surname Ephraim, I found out, is most common in Nigeria. I think I have that up on the article. Let me see if I can find that, family. I hope to God I have it. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, I don't want to miss out on the teaching because I don't want the fan actor. But I'm gonna find that for you guys, and I might do a community post. But the surname Ephraim is most common in Nigeria, family. They know this. The Biafras, the two Afars, and I've gone through that history of Afri being from Ephraim and Ka, the Roman suffix, meaning the people of Afri, right? So y'all have heard me doing all this African history, tying the continent of Africa, the name itself, with Ephraim and the Northern Kingdom and our people being seduced by the other nations to call ourselves Jews. The people in Africa don't call themselves Jews. They say we're Israelites, right? That's the envy of Ephraim shall depart. When Israel finds out who they are, they're no longer going to need another person's approval or covet what is deemed an Israelite or a Jew based on the definition of the name of the nations. That's what that scripture is talking about. And I know that's deep. I know a lot of y'all like, it can't be meaning all that, JB. I'm going to go through that history, and we're going to deal with David. Now, so I showed you guys my DNA. I showed you that I'm linked to the Igbo. I've done my 23andMe. I've also showed you on Put That Certificate my African ancestry that links me with the Yoruba. So they are related. The Yoruba are Ephraimites. Igbo are Ephraim, are the house of Ephraim, a part of those 10 tribes. But specifically, Manasseh, the other son of Joseph, Gad's 8th son, Eri, Zebulun, Naphtali, and Issachar is the tribes that the Igbo claim to be. Now, a lot of these Nigerians migrated during the time of the Moors when they were banished out of Spain. A lot of them that were wealthy went to the Americas. This is where you get Mexicans being Issachar. I do not agree with the 12 tribes chart. I don't think it's perfect, but there are elements of truth to it. So I'm not going to utterly bash the camps for that, but it's not scientifically accurate. They are saying Negroes that are in these areas are that tribe more than not, right? Because we know that Issachar was a part of the Northern Kingdom tribes that the Igbo claim, and they did go to the Americas during the time of the Moors and even further back than that, but we're just going to deal with the most recent migration, right? Not just that, but when you look at the Native Americans that the 12 tribes chart says that they're Gad, where are they getting that from? Gad's 8th son Eri is who the Igbo claim they come from. So your question needs to be, were there Igbo over in the Americas? This gets into the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Creek, the Seminole, Indian groups, which are a recent phenomena, which is why they call them the 5 civilized nations. I know this is a lot of history. I don't agree with that term, by the way, as well. All right. So I showed y'all my DNA, linked to the Igbo, linked to the Yoruba. They claim to be Ephraim on that side. We're going to go to the Americas and show them migrate. I'm going to show you some more of my DNA a little bit. EZ 16052. They changed the nomenclature on 23andMe. That's why I tell y'all to use wisdom, because they knew we will find out about E1B1A, right? So you can find out that E1B1A, which is the holy haplogroup. If your father's DNA or your paternal patriclan test is E1B1A, you are an Israelite on your father's side. On the mother's side, this will be L0, L1, L2, and L3. My mother is L0. The 4 different matriclans, because Jacob had 4 different wives. So that paternal lineage was the same, E1B1A, and with 5 different women, that's where you get those 4 matriclan or maternal haplogroups, right? So this shows I'm E1B1A. Also, this is my full name, JB Zion, Jeslam Ben Zion, Brandon Jeslam Ben Zion. I showed you guys my admixture, that on my chromosomes you can see North Africa, because they migrated. We saw that on the oral tradition of the Yoruba. They migrated from Morocco, so you see that North African presence in my genome. I'm gonna go through the Cherokee and the Choctaw. I'm gonna try to do it on this video, y'all, connecting that group as well to the Black Portuguese that came to the Americas. But I'm gonna try. Oh yeah, speaking of the Black Portuguese, in this book, a textbook of the history of the colored people, in it they talk about the Black Portuguese being descendants from Jews that came from Judea. Let me pull it up, because y'all wouldn't believe me. I like to show y'all these books. If y'all don't have these books, get them. Shout out to Bishop Nathaniel. He did mention this book a couple of times on his Shout Out Tuesdays. Here we go. Here we go. Now, the Portuguese who planted themselves on the coast of Africa a few centuries ago have been succeeded by descendants blacker than the Africans. A stronger case still is to be found, in fact, that the descendants of a colony of Jews originally from Judea to the coast of Africa are black. Let me wait and make sure are black, because I kind of rushed that last part. So it talks about that history of these North Africans, are these Black Portuguese being Black Sephardics or Black Israelites. On my grandmother's side, I can trace it all the way back to my 7th generation. They say, or my 5th on that branch, Felson Basil, he says he was a Black Portuguese, right? Where did they get that from? His DNA is Negro, right? His DNA is Sub-Saharan Negro, or E1B1A. Where did he get Black Portuguese from? They also call my family's lineage on that side a part of the Native American or Melungeon family groups. Where are they getting that from? I know this is a lot, family. Basically, there were indigenous Americans that were Black Portuguese that came over to the Americas. Their DNA is linked with the Igbo, Sub-Saharan Negro, and the Yoruba. All right. So I know this is a lot, I'm gonna keep recapping this stuff on each lesson. But if you do your admixture test on GEDmatch, and with GEDmatch family, it gives you an option to take your 23andMe results and you just upload it, right? And when you upload it, it can show you what people today are related to you, and it can break down your chromosomes and show the composition of these people that you inherited. So on this test, which is DODCAD, it shows that I still, on my chromosomes, have Moroccan DNA, right? Now let's continue. I did a ethiohelix test as well that also has Moroccan Jews and their DNA still on my chromosomes. So all of this is just to verify the oral tradition of the Yoruba, which is verified by Cambridge, Ulysses Santa Maria, the Black Jews, the Religious Challenge, or Politics versus Religion. Y'all have seen that before. I might put that on the screen. All of this is just to establish that African base, and I'm going to show you that they migrated to the Americas, family, right? Now, and I'm going to touch that David stuff as well. So we already know about the Jewish Virtual Library that talks about that Moroccan Jewish group. It's too many sources, y'all. I could be doing that a whole video, right? So next, I'm going to go back to these scriptures, and we're going to deal with this envious Ephraim. The envy of Ephraim. You know, how many minutes am I in? Okay. The envy of Ephraim. Ephraim's jealous and this kind of thing. And the Most High rejected the tabernacle of Ephraim. Now, I'm going to go to the book of Ruth. Now, I'm going to deal with Ruth. But first, let me do a new tab. Let me do a new Bible study. Let me open up where they're getting that from. Let's go to Psalms. I know this is a lot, family. I hope y'all just bear with me. Psalm 78. I hear that fan picking up. I hope it don't do too bad. So in Psalm 78, now I'm gonna give y'all some history of this psalm that you may have not known. Psalm 78 is not written by David. What, JB? And that's why that fan's starting to pick up. Satan don't want me to tell y'all. David didn't write this song. So when you see that Ephraim, or he rejected the tabernacle of Joseph, just know that David didn't write this. Also, in Chronicles, when it recounts that David was given his lineage going back to Judah, the chronicler wrote the book of Chronicles. This is not attributed to David. Oh man, I'm just giving y'all some bombs real quick. Now in Psalm 78, in the first verse it says, Mishal of Asaph. This is a psalm of Asaph. This is not by David. So now let's go down. Let me start reading. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline thy ears to my mouth. Right? Let me scroll down. Which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from our children. So in Psalm 78, it's going to go briefly through not briefly. It's going to go through the history of Israel and that kind of thing. I'm going to try to scroll down because it's a long psalm. Oh, here we go. Verse 8. And might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that didn't set their heart right, and whose spirit was not steadfast on God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows. Now I'm gonna connect that with the natives too. Carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They kept not the covenant of God and refused to walk in his ways, right? And they forgot his works and his wonders that he showed them. Marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers when he split the Red Sea and that kind of thing. In the land of Egypt, in the land of Zoan, he divided the sea and caused them to pass through. He's saying, I did all this stuff for Israel because this is the setting the stage for northern kingdom going into slavery for their wickedness. Now, so he's saying, I did all these things for Ephraim and they turned their back in the day in the wilderness, right? He said, I clave the rocks in the wilderness. You know, the water came out for them to drink. I brought streams out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers, right? So now let's scroll down a little bit because it's pretty long. I want to see when it just really says I reject the tabernacle. We want to get down to the meat of it, right? Let's go down. He says they tempted me in the wilderness. All of this, the Most High is fed up with it, right? Now this is Asaph recounting this. Now let's go down. All right. I delivered his strength into captivity. Now y'all watch this. Now let's go back to verse 60 because this is the context that's leading up to verse 68. Now, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh. Shiloh, family, was a hill city within Samaria, which was the capital of Ephraim. That's why in this chapter that's dealing with Ephraim brings up Shiloh. that goes back to Genesis 49, that Judah would rule until Shiloh comes. Shiloh is where the people were to be gathered. The Most High intended to use Ephraim's borders as a gathering spot for all 12 tribes. We see this in Deuteronomy 33, where the Most High through Moshe Hanavi says that Ephraim, as the firstborn ox, will push together the people from the ends of the earth. This is a prophetic mandate that the priesthood to gather all of Yah's people back together rest upon Joseph, specifically Ephraim. But here we see the Most High say, I reject Shiloh being that holy city where I would gather all my people to. This is not talking about the lineage of Ephraim. The Most High reconciled this, but I'm going to take an Ephraimite out of that to fulfill the promise that I promised to Ephraim. I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to put an Ephraimite family in Bethlehem, and in Zion would I establish my name through David in Jerusalem. So he rejected Shiloh. We see that in verse 60 of Psalm 78. He forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, the dwelling place among Israel where they would be gathered, and delivered his strength, the noblemen, the chieftains of Zion. This is talking about Ephraim. He said, I'm going to deliver the strength of Shiloh, the strength of Ephraim, into captivity. This is another swing that Joseph was sold into slavery. A lot of people keep saying Judah is the only one to the four corners. Judea is what that is talking about. Those during the time of Judea, during the time of Christ, where Christ prophesied in Luke 21 that I would scatter you to the four corners, right? And the land will be trampled by the Gentiles. That's any person in that land. There were northern kingdoms of Zebulun. We see that in Matthew 4. There were Naphtali. There were Samaritans that were actually Ephraimites that were in that land of Judea during the time of Christ. They will be scattered. That was the final dispersion under the Romans, right? Right. So we see it prophesied Joseph or Ephraim that his strength would go into captivity and his glory into enemies' hands. He gave his people over to the sword and was angry with his inheritance because Ephraim inherited the birthright. Now let's go down to verse 67. So he refused the tabernacle, the city in Joseph, in Ephraim, in Samaria, in Shiloh, that was to be the chief city where all the people would do sacrifices and be gathered together, right? He said, I ain't gonna do it in Ephraim's borders, but I'm gonna take an Ephraimite clan in Bethlehem in Judah and use Judah as the unification of the tribes. This is not talking about a lineage, but the borders of inheritance, family. I had to deal with that because a lot of y'all kept saying it. I said, man, I'm gonna do a video, but it's so much I try to cover, family, that it's kind of hard to deal with each and every one of these things in every video, right? So that's Psalm 78. When it says he rejected the tabernacle of Joseph, this is Shiloh, because he was going to take an Ephraimite family and put them in Bethlehem and choose that Davidic Ephrati family in Judah, in Zion, to be the rallying cry for all 12 tribes, family. So that's that. Now, I want to also go over the settlement. Now, this is the Jewish department. Now, this is Jewish history, the Department of Jewish History and Tel Aviv University, family. This is from Tel Aviv University. Now, in this article by Nadav Naaman, he goes into Rachel dying on the way to Bethlehem. Now, we're going to go into these scriptures now, family. Where when Rachel died in Genesis 35, verse 19, and we pull it up. And I got to deal with that. I got a book that I had to go pick up just to be able to show y'all this history, right? Now, oh yeah, also in the sealed portion. Oh yeah, I forgot. All praise to the Most High for that thing. In the sealed portion, we see that concept of Josephites living in Judea word for word. And I'm going to pull it up out of Nephi's words himself. Let's pull it up, family. Now this is, let me make sure y'all see this. This is the sealed book of Ephraim, words of Moroni. Moroni was connected to the house of Nephi. In verse 7 it says, behold, I am Moroni, the son of Moman, and my father was a descendant of Nephi, as I told y'all, who was the son of Lehi, our patriarch. He's going to show he's connected to Joseph, who was the son of Shaphan, coming from a family of scribes of the kingdom of Judah and of the tribe of Joseph. What? Oh my goodness. All praise. I've been trying to tell y'all. There were northern kingdom Israelites in Judea, family. This is why the stick of Ephraim has to be restored, because these records, Esau has changed the Bible scriptures and tried to hide this history, family. Now, let me pull this scripture up real quick. Now, we're going to deal with this further in Genesis 35. Now, I already showed y'all that when it says that Judea will be scattered to the four corners of the earth in Isaiah 11, this is not saying just the tribe of Judah. We know this is the southern kingdom of Judea and all the tribes that were in that land during that time. That's Benjamin, Levi, and all the other northern kingdom that were there. That was the final dispersion of our people. So that's to Isaiah 11, that point y'all keep bringing up. Psalm 78, he rejected the city of Shiloh and chose Zion. That's the purpose of Zion dynasty, to show y'all this. Now, in Genesis 35 verse 19, we see that it says, and Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Now we gonna deal with this. Oh yeah, brother, we gonna deal with it. A lot of y'all been saying, oh yeah, JB, when you see that right there, it tells you that, you know, it was already called Bethlehem. Let me pull it up. It was already called Ephrath. So Ephrath is not Ephraimite, or Ephrathite is not Ephraimite, because it was already named that during the time of Rachel. Now let me ask y'all a question. Was it really? Now let me show y'all. I got some research for y'all. Oh yeah, Rabbi B. Michael Blaine. Joseph is alive. Oh yeah, I got to show y'all some precepts. I got some great precepts for that. Now let me get my book. Let me get my passage up to show y'all something that we've aired in our understanding. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, fam. I'm gonna put this on the screen, but let me go ahead and explain it first. Moses is the author of the first 5 books in the Bible. Moses is writing in Genesis. That's like if I tell somebody my son was born where the gas station is. When my son was born, that does not mean that gas station was there when he was born. It means I'm recounting it in the present tense. Woo-hoo! And I give all glory to the Most High. Y'all don't begin to say you give all glory to the Most High for him showing this through me to show y'all this. So Moses is writing. So he's saying, and Rachel died and was buried in the way, or on the way, to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Bethlehem was not called that, Bethlehem Ephratah, during this time period. Moses is explaining the history of where she was buried. He's not using the name of the land back then. Now a lot of y'all say, oh no, JP, I got sources, because I knew this one might be hard for y'all to believe. That's why I had to make sure I went back and got this book. Joseph is Alive by Michael B. Blaine. He goes into Ephrathite, and this is not no black person. This is a European, I believe, a Ashkenazi Jew going into Ephrathite and connecting it to Joseph and Ephraim in a beautiful way. And I'm going to do a separate book review on it. So family, I'm back. I'm going to do a separate book review. It's been a little while since from that first part. I did it earlier today. I just got off work. Let me fix my banner. I get excited and it just be shaking. But yeah, I just got off work, you guys. So I'm going to finish up this last part. I'm going to have this up for y'all in about an hour and a half, hopefully. So I'm going to hurry up and get this last segment. So Joseph is Alive. Y'all get this scholarship if you do not have it. Joseph is Alive by Michael Blaine goes into beautiful detail on Joseph being alive, the Ephrathite custom, or the Levirate custom, and what took place with Bethlehem belonging to Ephraim. Now, a quick note about that, then I'm going to go into this literature and show you why when you read in Genesis 35:19 that it says Ephrath, or calls that region Ephrath or Bethlehem Ephratah, that this is Moses the writer speaking in his time of back then. So it was not called this. So a lot of y'all have said that, well, Ephrath and Ephrathite, it was already named that. That has no correlation or link to Ephraim, right? So we're going to deal with that in Michael B. Blaine's work, where he goes into that. So let me go ahead and get that up for you guys. This book is excellent, y'all. If you can get a copy of this, I think I got this off Amazon. He talks about the Levirate very carefully. The land of Bethlehem was given to Ephraim. Even Pastor Kelly, B'nai Israel, and them, the sources they used, I watched, also said that Rachel died on the way to Bethlehem and her bones were buried there. So she died on the way to Bethlehem, so they buried her there, and that city was given to Ephraim, which is why in Joshua 15, you do not see Bethlehem listed, and the Bible goes into great detail to name every town given to Judah. Now, to Benaiah Israel's point, in Joshua chapter 16, it goes into the borders of Ephraim. But notice, family, it does not give every town exhaustively. It's like the greatest mystery that the Most High, I was almost losing my mind. I was like, Father, you played this like a chess match. You didn't even list all the towns that belong to Ephraim. It's like you tucked away this Bethlehem mystery for these end times. So we're going to look at Michael B. Blaine. I'm going to turn into his section where he talks about Ephraim. Now, he also does a great expose on the book of Ruth. If y'all want me to do a book review, comment that down below, and I can do that today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, because you guys are going to see that this evening, this one. So, let me show y'all an example of Moses naming Ephrath using his present understanding to signify the understanding of those during his time, a ancient event. That may sound kind of confusing, but that's like if I say my son was born, you know where that gas station is? That's where he was born at, right? At that hospital next to that gas station. That gas station could not have, let's say the gas station wasn't there during the time of my son's birth. I'm saying, you know where they just put that gas station last week? 2 years ago, that's when my son was born. Oh, that hospital. Yes, that's what Moses is doing. Now, let me show y'all that. Let me break that down for y'all. This is just a teaching lesson, teaching segment, you guys. Oh, perfect. I think y'all can see me. Okay, there we go. So this is talking about Ephraim. This is his section on Ephraim, if I can get it the angle right. Now, we're going to look at that paragraph. Here we must recognize a convention followed by scribes. So this is a common act who prepared biblical manuscripts. They updated place names from the ancient name to the modern name so that the reader would recognize the place to which the writer was referring. So they used present vernacular, present locational markers for an ancient landmass that was not probably named that 50, 60 years ago, right? Now, this is not a threat to biblical concepts of inspiration. For example, Genesis 14:14 informs us that Abram pursued the 5 kings who took Lot captive and caught up with them at Dan in the north. But wait a second, but Joshua 19:47 tells us, or Joshua chapter 19 verse 47 tells us that the city was not called Dan until after the Danites conquered the promised land, that region, many years later. So the writer is talking about during Abraham's time, he took over that area, he caught up to them at Dan. Dan wasn't even born during the time of Abraham, right? And back then his name was called Abram during the War of the 5 Kings. So this is common, y'all. This is how this mystery has been hidden. Now, it wasn't called Dan until after the Danites had conquered it many years later. In Abram's day, it was known as Laish. So that he's using modern names to signify an ancient landmark. Genesis 35 verse 19 states that Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, and identifies it as the same as Bethlehem. But wait a second, Bethlehem was not known as Ephrath until after, watch this, the land was divided among the tribes and occupied by them. Y'all, this book, I'm going to do a book review. Oh my goodness. The power of this is that when Moses is writing, now y'all see this on my screen, and Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, he is calling Bethlehem Ephraim or Ephrath. When you look up Ephrath, it has a similar meaning to Ephraim. A lot of y'all have pointed out, well, that can't have nothing to do with Ephraim. Ephraim wasn't born. Moses, as a scribe, is using present vernacular of what that land became known as, Ephraim. Watch this. To signify that ancient location. Now, I believe that land in Bethlehem would have been inhabited by Canaanites. It could have been called Canaan during that time period. But Moses is saying in that area, that Bethlehem area that was given to Ephraim, that's the area where Rachel died. And most people will say, oh, that makes sense. Rachel's their grandmother. Boom, right? So all praise to the Most High. I'm going to do a book review on that. I just had to make sure I clarified that for y'all, right? So basically, what's going on? Rachel died in this area of Canaan. It was then named Bethlehem Ephratah, or fruitful, right? After the Ephraimites that will be given that territory in the promised land in remembrance of their grandmother. Our family, our forefathers honored family, y'all. They knew Rachel died there. That's a big deal. To y'all that are saying, oh, well, that don't really mean nothing. Yeah, Rachel died. Rachel was the love of Jacob. Rachel was the rallying cry of Joseph. Let me show y'all something. Oh, I got to show y'all this in Jasher. Oh, man. All praise to the Most High for this thing. Let me try to, if y'all hear my baby screaming in the background, Shiny D's with them. I just want to get this lesson with y'all real quick. They turning up for they eating dinner and stuff. So let me try to find Jasher chapter 42 for y'all, right? Let me go to that. And it goes into detail on Judah selling Joseph, which is a whole nother spiritual. That's the spirit that I'm up against, y'all, with this mantle, this apostleship to resurrect Ephraim and restore David's lineage. I'm up against an ancient spirit of Edomite Judean scribes that have rewritten the text in their own image and tried to hide this. But the Most High's word is so holy that there still was infrastructure of truth that just conglomerated together. Y'all better hear me, for such a time as this. So let me show y'all this. And that's where my kids get this stuff from. They daddy turn it up. Now, in the book of Jasher chapter 42, we're going to read this. And they went and sat on the opposite side about a distance, a bow shot, and they went and ate bread. Now, this is when the brothers sitting down eating while Joseph in the pit. Now, they having a good old time. And while they were eating, they held counsel together. What are they going to do with this boy that they were so envious of, right? And whether to slay him or to bring him back to his father. Verse 2. They were holding the council when they lifted up their eyes and saw there was a company of Ishmaelites. They said, oh man, we make some money off this Negro. Coming in the distance of the road of Gilead going down to Egypt. And Judah said unto them, he said, man, what are we going to gain if we kill our brother? Now watch this. So Judah is serving as the preservation of this child's life. This is why Judah would hold the scepter, to be the last one to hold the scepter until Joseph is restored. The Most High remembered that Judah was the only one because they were going to kill their own brother. This is a deep spirit. So when y'all talk about this, the envy of Ephraim, understand that is not what you think that it is. What it is saying is our people longing to be Judah would go away when we found out, wait, David was an Ephraimite. Wait, the birthright has always been with Joseph. Wait, they put us in a pit. They lied about who we are. We're the lost tribes of Israel. In that moment, we'll say, we don't need to call ourselves Jews. We are Israel. We are Joseph. And we are proud of it. Yoruba b'nai Ephraim. That's what was going on. But in terms of Ephraim being, Ephraim just mad that the special place that Judah had, that kind of envy, that is not what the scriptures is talking about. Because in the words of Yeshua, this was not so from the very beginning. The law of first mention is this book of Jasher, chapter 42, is the book of Genesis, chapter 37 through 50. That is the foundation. Whenever you're reading the scriptures, if you want to understand love, go to the passage of scripture that first mentions love in the Hebrew. This is a basic theological technique for understanding scripture, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. If I want to know what sin is, I go to the scriptures that says, for sin is the transgression of the law, statutes, and commandments. That when you eat pork chop, that's sin. So you use the scripture to define any kind of, not just a word, but any event that has taken place. That is how the Most High Yeshua used the first fruit of marriage to confound the law of Moses that they were trying to use. Moses allowed the bill of divorce, but this is not the heartbeat of the Most High Yah. From the beginning, these two shall be flesh, one flesh. So when you talk about the envy of Ephraim, from the beginning, it was Joseph put in a pit. So what changed, right? The Judean scribes trying to hide the stick of Ephraim, now the sealed portion, and all this revelation is coming out. David being an Ephraimite, brought to y'all by the praise of the Most High Yah through Zion Dynasty, this channel, to restore this truth, right? Now we're starting to see, wait a second, as it was in the beginning, so is it in the end. They were jealous of Joseph from the beginning. That's the true envy. The envy that our people now possess as Ephraim is wanting to be like the Jewish people instead of going back to that African Levirate Torah lifestyle that they still keep in Nigeria. that a lot of the natives still kept. You'll see them with their fringes on their garments. They even had it on their wing blades and that kind of thing. We're turning back to the Torah and not necessarily the Jews, and what they tell us is the law, statutes, and commandments. Now let's keep reading, family. Now, so they were holding the council when they lifted up their eyes and saw a company of Ishmaelites, right? And Judah said, what are we going to gain, y'all, if we kill our brother? Because by some chance, God, the Most High, is going to require him of our hands, that blood. This then is the counsel that he proposed concerning him. Behold, look at these Ishmaelites. This is what we need to do. Now, therefore, come, let us dispose of him to them, and let not our hand be upon him, and they will lead him along with them. And if anything happens amongst the people of the land, it ain't going to be us, basically, right? We didn't kill him, so we just gonna kind of set it up for him to fail. We're gonna kind of pit him in a bad situation. We're gonna try to slander him a little bit, but hide our hand. I'm just showing y'all the scriptures. This is an ancient spirit. That's why Zion Dynasty has been under attack, family. That's why y'all see the elders coming together. And I said, can I sit down and talk to y'all? No, we don't want to have nothing to do with you. This is an ancient spirit because of this mantle right here of Ephraim that the Most High has put on this channel to restore Israel, starting with the foundation that is the stick of Joseph and the hand of Ephraim, right? Now let's keep reading. So we see that they end up selling him to the Ishmaelites. Now let's go down to verse 6. And the Midianites ran to a pit to drink water, for they thought that it contained water. And on coming before the pit, they heard the voice of Joseph crying and weeping in the pit. And they looked down in the pit. Now he in slavery. Ishmaelites, Arabs, a lot of them descend from Ishmael. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So when you think about the Arab slave trade, history has been repeating itself. When you know them Arabs, who did they sell? Negroes. They sold us. But who are you? Look harder. Lost tribes of Israel, Ephraim, we're Joseph. Wait, the descendants of Ishmael sold us just like we being the descendants of Joseph. Y'all, when you know who you are, history makes sense about what is going on to us as a people. Now let's keep reading. And they called to him and said, who are you? And why were you placed in this pit? So they thought he was a nobody. They didn't know how he got down there in the wilderness. And they insisted to raise Joseph up. Now, his brothers set that whole encounter up and they hid their hand. They didn't just outright sell him. They kind of said, well, you know, you might find somebody over there, you know, you can have him. And they kind of went off to the side. The Midianites came and saw this boy and was like, how'd you get here? They get him out. Let's keep reading. And these said unto them, why do you try to take our servant? So then they show up. Surely we placed this youth in the pit because he rebelled against us. So they're saying that this boy did something wrong that offended them is why they put him in the pit. And you came and bring him up and lead him this way? And the Midianites answered and said it to the sons of Jacob, is this your servant? Or does this man attend you? By chance you are all his servants, for he is more comely and well favored. Oh my goodness, Marv. So he's trying to say this boy looked too well kept. He looked too good. Y'all saying that he one of y'all slaves. Y'all might be his slaves, and out of envy, you put him in the pit, right? Now let me scroll down because this is something I really want to show y'all about what happens with Joseph on this journey into slavery. Let me show y'all. All right. Let me try to scroll down. Y'all bear with me. Okay, verse 29. No, let's start at verse 28. And the Most High Yah saw the ambition of Joseph and his trouble, right? Joseph was going through. He was trying to maintain morale. They was smiting him on the cheeks. They was mocking him. He was crying. He was pleading with the Most High. And the Most High brought down upon those men darkness and confusion. The Most High said, I didn't have enough for this. Y'all hear me? He said, I'm tired of y'all mocking my son Joseph, my firstborn, right? Because Jacob had already alluded with the coat of many colors, but I ain't gonna spoil it. So the Most High said, let me smite these jokers with darkness because they don't understand. I'm allowing Joseph to go through what he's going through because I'm going to end up using him to save all the 12 tribes. That's why Ephraim is the key, family. That's why knowing that when you hear about the tabernacles of Judah, I'm going to deal with it. That's talking about who specifically. What tabernacle within Judah? What city within Judah? Bethlehem. What's the ethnicity of those in the tabernacle of Judah of Bethlehem? The governor. What's his ethnicity? Ephraimite, through the kinsman redeemer Judah Boaz. But who is he? Elimelech raised from the grave. Y'all better hear me. That from him out of the tabernacles of Judah will he arouse first. That's the mystery, family. It has always been Joseph. That is the key. Let's keep reading. Now, and the Most High got tired of all that wickedness they was doing to him. And he sent darkness and confusion. And the hand of every one of them, they hit their sails. They smoked their sails. They didn't know where they was going, right? They hurt themselves trying to mock Joseph. They hurt themselves in darkness because they was already spiritually blind. Let's keep reading. And they said to each other, what is this thing that God has done in the road, the Most High? And they knew not that this happened to them because of Joseph. The nations got a curse on them because of Joseph. We're going to deal with it. America got a curse on them because of Joseph. The nations got a curse because of Joseph. That cup of trembling, those people, those slaves, y'all's children that you still got in your hand. That's why this government ain't going to be able to last. That's why the nation's in uproar. That's why they talking about World War III. Because Joseph, because they got the children of Israel in the pit. Let's keep reading. And the men proceeded on the road, and they passed along the road of Ephrath, where Rachel was buried. So whenever you see Rachel being buried, they call it Ephrath, because we know that Ephraim received Bethlehem. Now let's keep reading. And Joseph reached his mother's grave. Now y'all watch this. And Joseph hastened and ran to his mother's grave, and fell down and cried and wept. Here it is. And Joseph cried aloud upon his mama's grave and said, Mother, O mother, and thou that didst give birth to me, awake and arise and see your son. See what your son is going through. How he has been sold as a slave, and nobody has pity on him. Everybody want to be Judah. Don't nobody care about the lost tribes. The Africans, the Nigerians, saying that we be Ephraim, that we be Joseph. Don't nobody care about our people. We gunned down on the streets. You got Zion Dynasty trying to raise up Israel and tell Israel that, yeah, we forgot about Northern Kingdom. We forgot about Joseph. Oh, no, we Judah. You know, every black person that went in the transatlantic, we all Judah. Everybody on earth, the whole earth is one tribe out of 12. Now, what sense does that make? And then I tell them what the majority, based on mathematics and DNA and archaeology, well, out of 12 tribes, most of them would be the 10, which is Joseph. Don't nobody want to have no pity on Joseph. Nobody sees the beauty of the love that the father had manifested through Jacob towards that son. The son that was born from the womb of his love, that he had to work extra hard to get Rachel. He was bewitched and given Leah, the mother of Simeon, Reuben, Levi, and Judah. But he said, I'll take that wife to get my love. And then my love gave birth to my begotten son that will receive the birthright. But all of that goes away. The same birthright that was on Joseph is what separated Jacob from Esau. It's what separated Isaac from Ishmael. It's what separated Abram from all those idol worshipers. That's the power of the birthright. It never went away. All the Most High did says, I ain't going to use Shiloh no more because y'all done frustrated me. I'm going to take an Ephraimite family because I can't do away with the blessing that's on Joseph's life. And I'm going to put a Joseph family within Bethlehem, Judah. Y'all better hear me. So now we got Joseph crying out to the ground of his mother, saying, land, remember me. My foremother, remember your child. That's why them Ish people to this day, Google it, they don't have rights to Bethlehem. Woo-hoo-hoo. America made Jerusalem the capital of the U.S. Embassy. But that land, Bethlehem, that small town is so holy. The Most High says, even when I let the Gentiles rule, they ain't gonna touch that out of the love that I have for Joseph. And the Most High did away with that. And you want to run to, the envy of Ephraim, as if you know what that scripture is saying. You want to run to, he rejected the tabernacles of Joseph. Joseph's done away. They're wicked. They're wicked. They're sold into captivity. As if Judah wasn't desolated in the same 70 CE of Luke chapter 21 that was prophesied in Deuteronomy 28:68. Come on. All of Israel was with sin. Who are we to bash the very love of the Father, the name of the Most High that's placed on that tribe? That's all done away with? So family, now I ain't done. Let's go back to this Ephrathite thing. Oh yeah, brother. So since everybody want to say that oh no, Ephrathite, that don't mean Ephraim. Oh no, let me pull out these sources real quick. Oh yeah, I got to give y'all these words. Let me pull it up. This day. Because I got copies, man. I don't just got online copies. I got a CEB Bible with my name engraved on it at the bottom. Y'all can see J.B. Zion, Brandon Justline Ben Zion. You see it right here. I'm going to have to show y'all, right? In this Bible, in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 12, we going to read it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me pull this down real quick. I think I got these tabs up. Now, David, oh, yeah, was Jesse's son. An Ephraimite, oh no, from Bethlehem in Judah. So he was out of Judah. He's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. But wait a second. The Most High knew Esau would covet Israel and would go after the glamorous nature of Judah, because Judah would hold the scepter in that era and they would hijack the identity. But wait a second, the wisdom of the council of the Most High Yah, the chess master of creation, hid within the fabric of one tribe's territory another ethnicity, another tribe, so that when Satan tried to take everything, he had a ram in the bush. Y'all better talk to me. Let's read it. So now David was Jesse's son, an Ephraimite. So is the word wrong? Oh no, JB, that's the CEB Bible. You know, that's that Bible, the only one that say it. Uh-oh, the NIRV Bible. Oh no, another Bible? David was the son of Jesse, who belonged to the tribe of Ephraim. Jesse was from Bethlehem in Judah. Wait a second, I just showed y'all in the sealed portion. That's why they try to say, let me tell y'all something. Mormonism is crack cocaine just like Christianity. But does that mean that the plate's wrong? Does that mean the book wrong? If that's the case, you reject the scriptures. If you're saying, oh yeah, that's wrong because, you know, Mormonism. No, the books ain't. White folks just hijacked your cultural, Negro. He took your identity, Negro. Just because the religion is white supremacy don't mean that these ain't your records. That's what they did with the Bible. They whitewashed it, but that be your book. Just like the sealed portion of Ephraim. And what did I just show y'all in the sealed portion? I'm going to open that thing back up again. Oh yeah, brother, we finna get this. Y'all finna get this lesson tonight. Oh yeah, y'all finna get it. Let's pull it up. Okay. Moroni, the son of Mormon. And my father was a descendant of Nephi, who was the son of Lehi, our patriarch, who was the son of Shaphan, coming from a family of scribes of the kingdom of Judah, but of the tribe of Joseph. I done tried to tell y'all that you had Joseph living in there. So when you say Judah was scattered, the tabernacle of Judea, that kingdom, and the tribes that was there was scattered. It's a territory, family. Just like if I come from Texas, that don't mean I come from Houston. Christ came from Judah. That don't mean he was a blood Judaite. And we see it right here in the scriptures. Oh, the CEB Bible, the only one that says it. JB, this is JB Zion's doctrine that he's made up a whole new gospel. NIRV, brother. David was the son of Jesse, who belonged to the tribe of Ephraim. We just saw CEB Bible. Now David was Jesse's son and Ephraimite. Oh, them the only two. Let's go to the LSV, me brother. Oh man, it's another one. Let me pull up the book. Thought I had this one up already. Chapter 17, verse 12. Let's pull it out. Let's see how many witnesses. 2 or 3, right? I got buku witnesses. And David is the son of this Ephraimite. Oh my goodness, Marv. Of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name is Jesse. Know why they hid this? Because the Judean scribes hijacked it by Esau, wanted to do away with the Moors Ephrati, do away with them native Chickasaw, Cherokee Ephraimites that went over. They wanted to do away with them Nigerian, Igbo, and Yoruba. They wanted to do away with the coat of many colors that is the fabric of the black nation, that is Joseph. They said, we're going to do away with them Negroes, right? When we come to power. Because we know Esau was made to keep Torah by John Hyrcanus. So they had your culture, Negro. That's why Herod the Edomite was king. That's why the Pharisees and the Sadducees was Edomites, according to Josephus, who also was an Edomite Judean. Edom became infiltrated with white folks. I'm just going to keep it plain. That's why them white folks got your black behind Joseph that had been in Morocco since the time of Joseph. They was blue-black. They knew black people, and those that went to the Americas and Latin America, well, that also is America, they knew them black folks was Israelites that had been mixed in Africa for so long that all these black Negroes are descendants of the lost tribes. These Europeans knew that. That's why they got rid of Ephrathite. They tried to, oh, that's a different word. Oh, we gonna deal with that different word. Oh yeah, brother. So I just showed y'all 3 witnesses. Oh, that's just those Bible verses. You know, them the only verses that say that, JB. Let's pull it up in the Strong's Concordance. I had a brother, I ain't gonna name the elder. He said the Strong's Concordance wrong. I said, what? Oh, I don't really use the Strong's. What? The links that Spirit of Judah. We gonna deal with it. Ephrati. Now watch this. Ephrathite or Ephraimite. Now let's look at this carefully. An inhabitant or a descendant of Ephraim. Why did they say that? Because you had an inhabitant of Ephraim that was an Ephraimite. Like in 1 Samuel chapter 1, Samuel is referred to as an Ephrathite or an Ephraimite from Mount Ephraim. But you also had descendants of Ephraim in the highlands of Judea. I showed y'all the article by the Jewish History Department of Tel Aviv. No, what that thing here? Y'all think I'm making it up. If y'all just tuning in, you'll think I'm making it up. Let's pull it up. Oh yes, here we go. Right here. The settlement of the Ephrathites in Bethlehem and the location of Rachel's tomb. This is by what? Department of Jewish History? Why they ain't telling Negroes this? Tel Aviv University. A lot of y'all say, well, JB, you always got these sources. You always got this, that, you know, you try to use the ish sources. Let me tell y'all something. You see all these sources that I use that y'all say come from, oh, he using too much scholarship, too much Harvard. He trying to use man's wisdom. Let me tell y'all something. You know these books, they ain't teaching you this, right? Just because your boy JB and all the elders finding this stuff does not mean that it's for you. It is your history, though. So when you say I'm using their scholarship, they never intended for you to get it. So it's not like they got some conspiracy to give you something. They didn't want you to have that in the diaspora, Jewish diaspora encyclopedia that Negroes in Nigeria is Joseph. They didn't want to tell you that. Negroes, by the grace of the power of the fierceful power that is the Most High Yahweh, has brought this fact out. Because the Most High said, I do all these things. You can't stop me when I begin to roar. Y'all better hear me now. Boy, I'll shake the foundations of this thing. So when you see Ephrati, it says an inhabitant or a descendant of Ephraim or an inhabitant of Bethlehem. What does that mean? You had Ephraimites in Bethlehem. Why? Because Rachel was buried there. I done showed y'all like 3 or 4 different witnesses. Wait a second. Where's Joseph is alive? I showed y'all how Moses is recounting the territory. Because as we see with the Battle of the 5 Kings, it was called Dan when Abram was still Abram. His name wasn't even called Abraham yet, but it's saying that he went to the region of Dan. We know that that's named after Dan when they got it in the modern era. So when you see Bethlehem Ephrath, which is linked to Ephraim, it's Moses telling you, you know that town that Ephraim got over there in Judah? You know that town that Ephraim got in Judah? And y'all, I'm just doing this because we're going to put respect. If we're going to raise up the 12 tribes, we're going to tell the truth. And now that this stuff coming out, truth. If you about truth, bring it out. That's all I'm doing, is bringing out our records, because there is a spirit that is against Joseph that has existed from the foundation of this earth, and I'm going to confront that thing. I wouldn't be a servant of the Most High if I did it, because a lot of our people are walking with the DNA of that hated and despised son, and you don't know it, and you're coveting after another man's identity. You wanting to be every other thing except for who you are. If the Most High says you are part of them 10 so-called lost tribes, own it. You Israel. The name of Israel got passed down to them anyway. Now let's go back to this. So we see in the Strong's Concordance that it also means Ephraim, right? Now, I showed y'all that, let's see, let me make sure I got it. Okay, here it is. So I showed y'all by the article from the Department of Jewish History in Tel Aviv University about that settlement. Now, he goes into detail on why, you know, a lot of Ephraimites, I did a video on it, on Joseph sold into slavery. Y'all check that one out. And I can do it again on another video. Y'all comment if y'all want me to do that. Y'all comment these. If you have any questions, y'all put them down in the comments, right? So he goes into detail that he supposes around the Iron Age. That's when a lot of these Ephraimites went into Bethlehem. There's a lot of different theories of when they went into Bethlehem. Some people say during the fall of the Assyrian Empire. Some people say that they went way back during the time of Joseph, because Joseph was the second in charge to the Egyptian 18th dynastic period. During that time period, Egypt owned Canaan and Morocco and a lot of North Africa because they were the chief civilization. And this is why the Moroccans themselves and their oral tradition say that they've been there for thousands of years. I've showed y'all that in the Jewish virtual library as well, that talks about that ancient Moroccan Ephraimite settlement. So it's so many sources. So it's a lot of theories on when they got there. He proposes during the Iron Age, and all of this is about the location of Rachel's tomb. That was a rallying cry for Ephraim family. That meant a lot to them. So when I see brothers with this Judah stuff, I got to deal with the family, because we got to bring truth out and we got to be sincere about truth. The Most High is restoring the so-called hated black man. And we, speaking of the hated black man, let me show y'all something. A book that if y'all find this book, please let your boy know. Right now, this is talking about the Ephraimite Moors, about them becoming the Cherokee Indians and the Natick Moors. And I believe who was a part of the Natick Moors? He mentions Crispus Attucks was a Moorish Natick, right? That was the first one to be killed during the Boston Massacre. He talks about the Cherokee and Choctaw. Great article. But I do want to show y'all this book that a lot of y'all commented and showed me how to get the, and I think the Most High for my family. Y'all are awesome. Identity Regained, Black Man, Your Ephraim. It goes into the native Manasseh Josephites and the Ephraim Josephites and them becoming one in the Americas. Some that were brought out of Nigeria and the ones that were already here, those ancient Moors and ancient northern kingdom during the time of the fall of the Assyrian Empire, them coming together in America in that final captivity. This book goes into it, basically saying blacks and Native Americans and Latino Brazilian Sephardics, you know, y'all Afro-Brazilians as well, y'all are the children of Israel. When I say Israel, the house of Israel, he proves its link to Ephraim and Joseph. Excellent book. Esau got rid of every copy of this book, family. I could not find this book anywhere. This book is not on Abe's bookstore. It's not on Amazon. It's not on eBay. This brother found it in a library and put the PDF in his YouTube video. Shout out to that brother. And I downloaded it on my laptop. If y'all find that book, let me know. Y'all get that book as well, right? So yeah, family, we be the Northern Kingdom, the so-called lost tribes. This is the oral tradition of the Nigerians, those Africans that we come from. This is the oral tradition of the natives that are over here in the Americas. I can trace that lineage, those Cherokee, back to my 5th generation on one branch, 7th generation on the other, right? And they also say they are black Sephardic Portuguese that came according to the order of the Moroccan Moors of Ephraim. I have documentation of all of that. So a lot of us, if it's 12 tribes, the majority would be the 10 under Joseph, and that's our history, family. And if y'all want me to do a book review on Joseph is Alive, I can do that. I'm gonna try to get this lesson up to y'all tonight. Also, the sealed portion of Ephraim talks about during the time of the kingdom of Judea, you had Josephites that the Most High warned Nephi, really Nephi's father, Lehi, to go, leave. I'm going to bring judgment on Jerusalem. So a lot of those northern kingdom Ephraimites did not go back to Judea. That's why they got mixed in Africa, and a lot of them went to the Americas. They were warned that that judgment of Rome was going to come in 70 CE. That is the Book of Mormon summarized, basically. Now, I ain't going to say summarized. There's so much good nuggets, and I'll be going through this stuff, y'all. But basically, the foundation is Nephi and these Josephites are warned to get out of Judea, and they go to the Americas. Now, this is around 600 BC, that first wave of our people settling the Americas, and a lot of us today are linked to the next migration of the Moors and the Sephardics that came over. So, I know this is a lot. Y'all get the sealed portion. Y'all get Joseph is Alive. Also, David and Ephraimite by a medical doctor, a pastor, theologian with a doctorate in theology. He got like 50 different certifications. He also goes into the Judean scribes' attempt to hide Ephraim out of the scriptures. This is David and Ephraimite by Christian C. Park. Also, David C. Mitchell. This is Cambridge verified. He's also, I believe, a rabbi. Goes into detail on supposed Messiah ben Joseph being linked to Ephraim. They try to make it two different Messiahs. It's one lineage of David, the Ephraimite component being revealed in the last days, and the Davidic Judean portion going back to Boaz. Y'all get that book. A CEB Bible, I would recommend it. It makes the Bible easy to read, and it clarifies that Ephraimite stuff. The LSV does, the NRIV does. It's too many facts with that. Also, the North African Atlantic Hidden Birthright by Richard Poole. Y'all might not be able to find some of these books, so if you find it, I recommend y'all getting this. This is an Israelite brother that goes into the Yoruba, the Igbo, the native Moors that came over to the Americas, being linked to Joseph. He talks about Ephrathite and Ephraimite. This brother is all praise to the Most High for this Israelite brother. And yeah, family, I'm gonna be doing subsequent lessons on this stuff. I'm gonna try to get this one up real quick for y'all. So I hope y'all got something out of it. Peace, love, blessings, and Israelite power to the 12 tribes scattered to the four corners of the earth. I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Be blessed. Shalom. All praise.